What are the numbers coming up?
Well, I haven't had a preliminary total, but from what we've been hearing and recording so far in the early part of the evening when counting began, we were seeing some of the votes more swinging towards the Downey. And then in just about five
And
minutes ago,
those have been
Of the
specific
GLP.
boxes.
right, boxes, right, the boxes that are coming in, and they're now recording that. But in the last 5 minutes, the numbers seem to be picking up for Shaw. So we're still monitoring what's happening in that area.
All right.
Have you been able, Damien, to get an idea of how many boxes are remaining to be counted?
Not as yet. I'm just waiting until I get the clearance from one of the returning officers, who are pretty much busy right now, to get an idea of how many boxes are left. But what I can say is that at the start of the counting, the boxes were coming in slow, but now they are coming in very rapidly.
Mhm. All right. Thank you, Damien Scarlett, there in the Morant Bay Division in East St. Thomas. We go now to Northwest St. Andrew, where Calicia Wright is. Good evening, Calicia.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, listeners.
All right. What's happening in Northwest St. Andrew?
Okay, so I'm currently at the Pembroke Hall Community Center. That's where the counting center is for this election. So they were waiting on all the boxes to come in before the counting process. Before they start the counting process, I think all boxes are in now, and they are about to start that process as we speak. So no numbers for the listeners as yet.
And you said no numbers for the listeners as yet. What else are you seeing?
So security personnel are here. They're monitoring the area, ensuring that the boxes are secure, that it's being transferred properly. Yes, so that's what I'm seeing so far. I'm not seeing any supporters on the premises. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're at the constituency office, but so far we're just waiting on that counting process to begin.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much, Calicia. Let's go to Shaloy, who is now in South Trelawney. Shaloy.
Hi, Ricardo. Good evening. Good evening to our listeners. The rain is falling here, so the boxes are coming in slower than expected. So far, I think we've only counted approximately 28 of the 96 boxes so far. The numbers are maybe too soon to tell. I haven't been able to tally the numbers as to the amount that's given to Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert versus the independent candidate Lloyd Gillings as yet. Boxes are coming in as we speak, but they're coming in slowly because of the rain.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And are you seeing any of the candidates?
No, so Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert and the Lloyd Gillings are at the center here, and they have their supporters on the outside. As soon as one box goes in the favor of one, you'll hear the shout from one person, from one group. And so, as I said, it's coming in slowly but surely.
And Shalai, one of the things that we have also been hearing is that the independent candidate is performing a little better than expected.
He is performing better than expected, and his supporters are here cheering him on. So as soon as the numbers come in, where he's seemingly in the higher rank, then you will hear the scream.
All right, there. Thank you. Shall I keep us updated on that?
Mm-hmm.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right, Sanjay. I mean, I would have expected that this counting would have been happening a little faster.
Faster, yes.
Yeah, but let's go to the break. Let's go to the break, Bugs, and come back with more.
New World Home Improvement and Detail Cleaning offers high-quality detail cleaning and home improvement services.
Good evening.
They cater to residential and commercial properties. They clean from the sea.
Switch this over. Thank you for joining us this evening. We came on late because we were waiting to see if whatever result comes up, Lord, Dangarisha step in front of me. To my community party and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, via subscribers, commenters, and trolls, good evening. We are monitoring the nationwide screen in the background to see what comes up from the by-election result. Good evening to YouTube. Good evening to TikTok. And this evening we are broadcasting on a new platform. It's not new, but we are new to the platform, and that's Clapper. Clapper is a platform that works very similar to TikTok. So one's making their presence known because, you know, we're the Rupert Murdoch of social media. We want to be everywhere on the drive. But them say my election results coming in slowly. I'm pretty much certain the Labour supporters and the Labour Party is not very much too enthusiastic tonight. They are probably waiting with bated breath to see what the result will be, particularly to the two local government seats in Clarendon and St. Thomas, as well as South Trelawney, Marissa Dalrymple Filbert's seat. So that's one to watch out for. That's what we're going to be hankering around a big yard. Sorry, to see if we get any information or whatever comes up there with regards to the vote. So we are prowling around to find something. So as soon as Nationwide come back, we will tap into the Nationwide screen to see what they have really gotten. Let me take the time to say good evening to some of you while we wait for them to come back and from their advert and their selling of things. David Jarvis TV. Good evening, and welcome. Valerie, Gloria, RJ, Yvonne Riley, Rhonda Roddick, Sharon Bernard, Mel Smith Sparlin, Michael Nipper, Jill Plum 26, Real Sweet, Paula Shelley, Rosemary Samuels, The Unstoppable One, Empress Deb, Karen Forbes, well done, bro. Happy birthday once again. And I'll be showing you pictures of my Santa Claus brother celebrating his birthday also, all in Foster, Pauline, Dixon, Sharon Powell. Good evening. Petal Perry, good evening. Sophia Hall, good evening and welcome. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. We're waiting for election result. Patrick Mendes, good evening. Once again, happy birthday to one of my older brother. He's a very one above me, but that means say, me around the one of old age. Happy birthday, bro. Make sure you enjoy your cake from your granddaughter and daughter and all that jazz. And I wish you many, many more birthdays. Why nationwide not hurry up? I wonder if Andrew find out say if him I go lose tonight. If him I go kick nationwide half a year. Next chapter Prime Minister. But you know, it's like a Friday night recapping and watching election result. The nationwide news is the only mouthpiece at the moment in their mainstream, perhaps, or giving any coverage regarding Orlando. Electoral Commission of Jamaica.
Stop wasting your
Now,
time.
George Davis, there's a thingy live where George Davis is at the Electoral Commission. Orlando. And things happen, you know, you may tell you to talk. Jesus, them the modern day something you chat, sir. Hold on.
Quite festive environment. Festive, of course, because the supporters are out. Not all the PDs had the big numbers, right? We're talking about maybe like Trout Hall and Park Hall. But then when we went up to James Hill now, which is next in line, supporters left, right, and center for both sides. I wouldn't say that any had more supporters than the other, right? Also, the representatives from the parties.
Bro.
Joel Williams, he's the mayor of Maypen. Cian Barnes, well, the leader of the opposition was there. I don't want to spend the time talking about that, but there was tremendous support from the party themselves. And of course, the councillors themselves we know that the PNP has taken in and top.
Yes.
So that would be Delroy Dawson.
Yes.
Who is now the councillor.
Yes.
And
let's quickly listen to this quickly.
Southern Trelawney, Marissa Dalrymple Philbert is headed back to the Parliament.
Hold on.
Just about
74% corruption
votes. The People's National Party has swept both divisional by-elections. The PMP
I thought that
has prevailed in the Annan Town division, 1,646 votes for Delroy Dawson, 50.8% of the vote. He defeats Suzette Barton, who was able to turn out 1,592, 49.2% of the votes. In Morant Bay, Rosemary Shaw has also defeated Winston Downey. Rosemary Shaw has recorded 2,096 votes, taking 51.4% of the ballots cast. Downey manages 1,978, 48.6, call it 47% of the votes. We have with us Sanjay Cliff Hughes. This is significant. The People's National Party managing to win the two contested elections this evening. Of course, in town, significant. That's a margin of 54, if my math serves me correct.
And also, Ricardo, with Annan Town, what's now going to happen is that there's going to be a tie in that municipal corporation, and the PNP will
take control
of it because they had the popular vote.
Cliff Hughes is with us. Good evening, Cliff Hughes.
Good evening, Cliff.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Sanjay, and good evening to the listeners.
Mark Golden must be happy.
The two local by-elections results represent a win for Mark Golding's People's National Party. Let us go through them first with Annan Town. What the PNP has done is to flip Annan Town, having lost it 9 months ago in February of this year by only 92 votes. They have now turned around a 92 vote deficit to what, a 54
54 by my
vote
count, yeah, thereabout.
margin. Yes, that's a turnaround for the PNP. And that represents a win for them. And they must take comfort in that tonight because they put out all the stops. It was a full-throated battle between the machines of both political parties, and the PNP has prevailed by a slim margin, but it is a flip. To turn it around, having lost it by 92 in February, represents a win for the PNP.
Yes.
In Morant Bay, it's a little different because the PNP went in with a majority of just over 400, and they have been able to hold Morant Bay with a margin. I do have the numbers in front of me. It's about 80, 90 vote margin.
Yeah, I'm doing the calculations.
Doing calculation.
Yeah.
Go on, Cliff. Go on.
It's a smaller margin than they came out of February's local elections with. So it means that the JLP has narrowed the gap and made gains in Morant Bay against a veteran of local politics in St. Thomas, and in particular Morant Bay, the former mayor of Morant Bay, Rosemary.
It's 118.
118, yes.
118.
Margin, coming down from just about 400.
Yes.
Yeah, about 420, it was. So that represents a gain for Labour, yeah, in terms of the margin where the PNP has held on to Morant Bay, and they will take comfort from that as well. It's a good night for the opposition, and the Labour Party has more work to do, a lot more work to do.
Yeah, and in terms of the control of the municipal corporations now, Sanjay indicating quite correctly that with this result in Annan Town, it means the People's National Party will be able to take control of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation because there will now be a tie, and the popular vote result was in favor of the opposition People's National Party in February. So if I could just pull up the results from February now, I think it would mean that the People's National Party now controls the majority.
Yeah,
yes,
because
they won in February.
Right.
Yes.
Based on they had the majority in the popular vote, and they have a majority now of 50 odd in town. So yes, the PNP now takes control of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation from the governing Jamaica Labour Party. It means that Joel Williams will no longer continue as mayor and chairman of the Clarendon municipality, and that is going to be music to the ears of the comrades.
Yes. And Cliff, a much needed boost again for Mark Golding coming from the local government election and again proving himself being the president of the party to take them through this by-election to win.
Yes, because these two contested by-elections, we haven't spoken about the parliamentary by-elections yet. What's the turnout for South Trelawney? The turnout for South Trelawney was much better than it was for Northwest St. Andrew, especially the turnout for Northwest St. Andrew is bad news for Labour. Yeah, because we know they have problems in Northwest St. Andrew. Yeah, Dwayne Smith was not the kind that would set the place on fire in terms of support. There were serious reservations about his suitability, based on his record as councillor. And the fact that the Labour Party would turn out in Northwest St. Andrew mean that voter apathy was very, very strong. And Labour in Northwest St. Andrew didn't even bother to turn out. Yes? So that's another bad sign for the Labour Party because they were expected to win Northwest St. Andrew. But what we were watching for is the level of turnout, the extent to which you can mobilize your voters to come out. Yes? Given the fact, the reality, the voters would be not so enthused or motivated because the PNP were not in the contest, and no, it would not result in a change in government at the national level. You have to factor that in. But I make the point because Andrew Holness's Jamaica Labour Party has a problem. 9 months going into a general election. Coming out of February and tonight, they have not been able to energize, to bring up the base of the Labour Party support. We saw it in February, and we're seeing it tonight. And we heard today in that voice note that was leaked by the Council for the Raytown Division, Rosalie Hamilton, Labourites are not happy with the government.
And if I could just say, Cliff, before I pose another question to you, strictly speaking, the People's National Party does not, let me just correct that, does not take control of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. A mayor is already in place. The mayor does not demit office. What would need to happen is a vote of no confidence would have to be moved. And with a tie, the People's National Party would not prevail. So the information I'm receiving
the
is that
the JLP would not prevail. You mean?
The PNP would not prevail in thank you. The PNP, yes, the PNP would not prevail in removing the mayor. So the mayor remains in office. That is the information. It does not disturb the election because a mayor is already in place. But I want gentlemen to sort of step back for a second, because I heard the conversation that yes, this is a win for Mark Golding, undoubtedly, and the People's National Party. But these two divisions are traditionally strong division for the People's National Party. And I wondered, Cliff, based on that fact and based on the results, narrow margins, how much can we extrapolate to the national level in terms of the outcome?
One has to be careful how much you extrapolate, but the local realities, take them one at a time, in and town, at a time when the PNP was gaining across the country in February of this year, yes, the PNP lost a traditional PNP local division by 92 votes. 8-9 months later, it has won it. It has regained it. Now, at this level, it may be due to a number of factors, including the personal pull of the late councillor who won it for the JLP in February. In these local elections, the pull of the candidate, yes, can make all the difference, especially with a 92 vote margin. It's a small, slim margin.
Right.
So we don't know if it was the pull of Mrs. McFarlane that carried
McFarlane,
over the line. Yeah, in February. Suzette Barton, a new candidate, not unknown in the division, but may not have the same pull as the late councillor did. Yes, but the fact is, the PNP has reason to be celebrating, to be smiling, because we know the trend. If you have your political nose to the ground in Jamaica today, yes, the Labour Party is behind. Yes, the country is in an opposition mood, an anti-government mood. Yes, and they are behind. We know, I've said, they have a problem with their base. Labourites are discontented with how they've been treated, yeah, by their party. Yeah, so there's an anti-government mood, and I think that is the tide the Labour Party is swimming against this evening. Why they couldn't make it over the line and to hold in on town and to flip Morant Bay.
Bro, Carlos.
And so, come tomorrow morning now, obviously, the Labourites messaging me so far, they are saying, they're seeing hopeful signs, as you rightly said, Cliff. The margin in Morant Bay came down significantly.
Yes.
And they narrowly lost. But just before I pose that question, let me just go to Damian Crawford. We have him online. Good evening, Mr. Crawford.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Your reaction to the outcomes tonight?
Of course, we're excited. We wanted to send the JLP to conference depressed, and we have achieved that. It would be a very sad conference on Sunday. I think they should postpone it and recover from this shellacking.
Did the win, Mr. Crawford, caught any of you in the party by surprise?
No. We are fully expectant of winning the next election. And it is the JLP that have the ability to call it, and they can't call it. That's because everywhere that we have lost, we will get back, and everywhere we want, we will get. So they are in a spot of bother at this moment in time.
You describe it as a shellacking. Is it really though?
Well, two love. Any World Cup we'll be celebrating.
But the margins matter, Mr.
Yeah.
Crawford.
No, my brother, in politics, the margins don't matter. As Lisa Hanna said, if you won by 32, you will skin your 32. So at the end of the day, we only need one to win. We were very strategic in how we approached it. We knew that we had a good margin over in St. Thomas. So we focused our energies and our effort in getting back in and town with against a government who have government resources, who have government ministers, and they were beaten. But I don't have to go further than the fact that the Prime Minister can call the election. So if they're confident, call it, and we could prove it in every other place that we want to prove it.
But the JLP narrowed the margin in the Marant Bay division. Isn't that something
Because
to be
we strategically
concerned about?
focused our effort in winning in and town, because we don't care if we win by 1,000 or by 1. So therefore, our efforts were, if you look at the schedule for myself, for Mark Golding, for the faces of the party, they were concentrated in and town to carry home that victory. And we have carried home that victory.
Mm-hmm. And have you had word? I understand you're in and town now, yes?
Yes, I am in and town.
Mm-hmm. Have you had word from the party leader?
Yes, the party leader is also in and town. That is how strategic we were. That both of us and the expectations were in and town. Mm-hmm. The party leader is here. He can't talk to you right now. He's smiling from ear to ear, but he's here.
Mm-hmm.
Let us have a quick word with him.
Yeah, he's gone. Oh, I hear the sweet out the Prime Minister and Jones out of in and town.
Cliff?
Yes.
Any questions for Senator Crawford?
Yes, I would ask the Senator Crawford. It's instructive that what is emerging now from the PNP, you now see the PNP team on the ground.
Yes.
It's a calculated decision now to involve you more, Senator Crawford, in the
to involve all of us.
campaign.
I was very involved in the last local government as well. So if there's no election,
But
there
your
can be no
profile-
judge
your
of
profile-
involvement.
Your profile in terms of positioning you.
Oh
yeah,
no, I was very
as
similarly
noticed
profiled in
I've
the last
noticed
local
you've been-
government. There's
you've
no.
been-
Hold on, Senator. Let him finish the question and then you answer, Senator.
Yes. Mhm.
Senator
I'm
Crawford
sorry?
is being- Senator Crawford is being very humble with a lot of humility. Yeah.
I'm not hearing you very well, but as I said, we are excited, very elated,
Carefully,
and we
I'm
expect
saying-
to win.
I'm saying that it is
Mhm.
noticeable, listeners, that the PNP, quite rightly, politically,
Tap
is
up the screen
stepping
on
up
TikTok,
their
please.
use and deployment of one of their most popular members, Senator Damian Crawford. So you hear him talk, listen to what he said. The two of us, meaning the leader and himself, strategically placed. Yes, and you're going to see more of that.
And we come McNeil and Azan and
Crawford,
Philip
Damian
Falwell.
Crawford.
No,
Yeah.
sorry, Mikhail
Yeah.
Phillips. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the JLP spent 14 of the 20 accounts down here, and we were still victorious. So we only have to go against another 14.
And Damien is saying if 14
All right,
couldn't win the
Senator-
local
Senator-
election, it now go
We
to
seem to have
nothing
lost him. Senator
general.
Damian Crawford there. The soundbite. The soundbite is obviously going to be send the JLP to its conference. Depress the labor rights will be gathering at the National Arena on Sunday. The Prime Minister said these by-elections were a warm-up act. A heats, he says. Yeah, heats. Didn't go very well. Didn't go very well at all. We have some celebration video clip coming out of Morant Bay. The comrades are chanting, "Call it now, Andrew. Call it."
Hardly likely that they'll get their request.
Hardly
Because-
likely. I think we may go down to the wire now.
It's
The
going
very
to go
wire.
down to, it's going to
Yeah.
go down to the very wire.
Because you don't call an election knowing what you now know that you are behind. Yeah,
Yes.
you don't. If you were to call an election now that is Andrew Holness, he will lose. Yes, so you don't call it now.
He's going to
He now
lose
needs
bigger even if
every
him call in
month,
September.
yeah,
Now is his
to
best chance.
try to turn this around. Yes, the results tonight show that it's not all over for the JLP. Yeah, it's not all gone to the PNP. There's still much to fight for. It is
Yes.
still a close race. Yes, and the biggest challenge facing the Labour Party is how is it going to pull the base of the Labour Party, and not only the leadership or the mid-tier, but the base of the party. Yeah, that is the challenge facing it. Yes,
And
it has
the-
a record
and-
on,
and-
it has a
Uh-huh.
record on which to run, but it has not been very good at the politics.
And one of the things we have recognized, Cliff and Ricardo, when you listen to the Prime Minister on the number of meetings that they've been having across the country, the last one being at West Kingston, he said it. He made that appeal
Yes.
to the delegates, in a sense, to go out and sell the message. And if you listen to every speaker at that conference, it was the very same thing they were telling the delegates. We need you, in essence. We need you to go and sell that message. So I think that the party, they have recognized that they're in a spot of bother, and they have to now come together to fix that issue.
You're absolutely right. That's an excellent point, Sanjay. You hear, listen to the Prime Minister's some speeches all over the place. He said it in West Kingston last night. He said it in Portland a couple of weekends ago. He said it in St. Elizabeth as well, wherever he's going, because he knows they have been doing their audits, as he calls them. Yeah, that the base of the Labour Party is not happy with their constituency leadership, as in members of parliament, with the government. They have a problem because Labourites feel that here the economy has made gains, but they're not seeing the benefits. And that is the challenge. They cannot beat a PNP that is united and energized with a base that is, we support our party, but they're not going out there full 100 to carry home the Labour Party. Yes?
And
He needs to
also,
fix
what
that.
Rosalie said in that leaked voice note, Cliff, very instructive. She said that some of the things that the leader have to be doing, the house to house, the leader of the party shouldn't have to be doing that. And that struck me, that there is a problem. And based on what she said, it's very evident.
And so then, gentlemen, my question would be, Cliff, you've seen several elections in this country, 9-10 months out until the general election is constitutionally due. Can it be turned around in that space of time? That is a question that keeps coming to my mind, and I can't. There's no answer that's coming to me readily.
No, it cannot.
And so I'm going to call on you now for the history and the experience in that. Has it ever been turned around in that relatively short space of time? Because there is a perception that once the Jamaican people have made up their mind, they've made it up. And that's that.
The difference, though, and I've been thinking about this as well because it has been concentrating my mind. And I'm trying to go back, 40 years, 44 years, 1980, the run-up to the 1980 general elections in October 30. Siaga and the JLP won the October 30, 1980 elections from about January 1979 with a gas price rise when Siaga, as he said famously, locked the country down tighter than a sardine can. And with those demonstrations of January 1979, for the rest of that year, from then Siaga was effectively running Jamaica. Yes, it never got done. For Michael Manley and the PNP. So by the time we got to 1983, the Grenada Revolution, or not revolution, the implosion of the Grenada Revolution when Maurice Bishop and several of his cabinet members were killed. And Siaga called a snap election because by 1982, the Carlstone polls were indicating that Michael Mann and the PNP were back from being politically dead 2-3 years earlier. and Siaga saw an opening. He had played a leading role in the U.S. invasion with Eugenia Charles of Dominica, in inviting the Americans to come into Grenada and the Caribbean. And he got a bump in the polls, the stone polls. And he called a snap election based on the premise of some statement the late Paul Robertson made, and the PNP and Michael Manley refused to contest the elections, the snap elections of December 1983. It never helped Siaga after that because Michael Manley had so reorganized the PNP that by 1986, the local government elections of 1986, the PNP had swept those elections, straight down into the general elections of February 1989, when the PNP ramped home again with Michael coming back to power. This is after Hurricane Gilbert in 1988, but Siaga did a fantastic job, in recovering, rebuilding after the shutdown and devastation of Gilbert, and he lost. And then since then, 1989, right up until 2006, the PNP was in power for nearly 19 years, unbroken years. Michael fell ill, retired. PJ took it over, led the party to wins in 93, 97, 2001. Until Siaga finally got the message, made way for Bruce Golding. And Bruce Golding reorganized the Labour Party into a competitive force and eked out a narrow win in 2007. Then Golding, having assumed leadership of the country in 2007, came apart with the Dudus affair. You recall the Dudus affair?
Yes.
Yes.
And he resigned, when he refused to go with the American demands for the extradition of Dudus Court. And it became inevitable by then that he could not win. And he realized that and turned it and gave it to Andrew Holness. But by then the die had been cast. So the PNP won 2011 elections. After that, the JLP, under Holness's leadership, by the way, Holness led them to defeat, in 2011. Portia Simpson-Miller was prime minister, and she was having no ends of problem, we know Portia was Portia, personally popular, but widely regarded as being unable, to lead the complexities of a Jamaica in 2011, 2012, lack of command of the issue. So there were always questions about her capacity and capability to lead. And Holness, with a reorganized Labour Party, made it home in 2016. So the long and short of that, gentlemen, fast forward to 2024. For the first time, we have a government into its second term, coming to the end of its second term, looking a third term, and the economics, the political economy, is not bad. I said it. The Holness administration is the only administration, and I ask people to challenge me on this, with the best economic performance on which to seek a third term. No previous administration, no previous government has had this ability to say, listen, we did A, B, C, D. The question we're talking about now
Andrew can see
is not its record of performance, is whether the performance has been such so that people can feel it. Feel it. And don't forget now, the messaging, unlike what it was 10, 15 years and prior, was not a noisy, convoluted message with a noisy social media place. And I think That is the problem the Labour Party is facing. Its message is not getting through. It has been so fixated on getting the economics right. It has forsaken, the politics. And that is what they're trying to do now. How to fix Belmont Road, to get the MPs reconnect with the people. I don't know if they have the time. But the fact is, the PNP under Mark Golding has not articulated a vision of why Jamaicans should vote for them. What they've articulated and done very well is to exploit and point out the pain points in the country. Issues to do with corruption, crime, roads, health. Look at the PNP strategy. They have not articulated a platform that you can say, I like that. I'm going to vote for that. They're giving you all the reasons why you should vote against the Wholeness. While Wholeness has the upper hand in saying why you should vote for us. But incumbency, after 8 years, 9 years, people get tired of you unless they are doing fantastically well and making them feel, that listen, I have skin in this game. Too many Jamaicans don't feel that they have skin in this game.
Let's go to Marlon Morgan of the JLP Communication Task Force. Marlon Morgan, Senator Damian Crawford says the PNP has been successful now in sending the labor rights to conference depressed. Is that true?
Good evening, gentlemen. Let me say good evening to your listeners.
Good evening.
We want to take the opportunity first and foremost to commend the two newly elected members of parliament and the two newly elected councillors, Rosemary Shaw and what's the surname of the gentleman in Anton again? I'm skipped out just now.
Dawson. Delroy Dawson.
Very well, Mr. Dawson, on their victories early this evening. You see, Damian Crawford and I are familiar with an institution where we are taught very early that the brave may fall, but never yield. The truth of the matter is that it is easy to look at the outcome in terms of the results of today's elections and think, as far as the JLP is concerned, that there's reason to be, immersed in doom and gloom. But I view it another way, and I'll just share that with your listeners in the minutes ahead. The truth is that in Anton, we had a candidate who would have been fairly new in terms of candidacy. We know that Anton has traditionally been supportive of the PNP. Indeed, the PNP's candidate, Mr. Dawson, is someone who has served in a previous dispensation as the councillor there. And so we had the deceased, former council in February. And so our candidate, Suzette Barton, didn't make it home this time around. But the truth is that relative to her opponent, she was more of an unknown quantity, though we gave it our best shot. Obviously, these results aren't what we would have been hoping for, certainly in terms of the divisional contest. But we are going into conference seized as to what is required and very mindful of where we are. As I said a while ago, these aren't the results we would have hoped for. And so it may appear as though, our spirits would be a bit deflated and whatnot. I mean, it's a part of life. In politics, there can only be one winner. We know that when we go into these contests, the stakes are high because there's no second place in politics. But that notwithstanding, we are focusing on the mission ahead. We are going to be attending upon the national arena on Sunday in our numbers. We're going to be turning out in droves, and we're going to be hearing from our party leader and the support cast. The chairman of the party, the general secretary of the party, and other key functionaries as to why it is that the Jamaican people, Cliff, following on what you said precisely a while ago, should appreciate and buy into the JP's platform and the direction in which we are proposing to take Jamaica and the performance that we have placed on the board these past 8 going 9 years.
But Marlon,
JLP does not have a platform, we do.
But Marlon, you've been the JLP that is selling that message since at least the start of this year consistently. In these by-elections, you're the party in government with the command of the entire state apparatus. All the GLP bigwigs fanned out in Town, in Morant Bay, and even with all of that, you still couldn't win. You're saying that this is the result you expected. You really expect
Not
the
at all.
Jamaican
Not at
people?
all, my friend. Ricardo, the JLP, I can't speak for any other political party in Jamaica, but we go into elections to be competitive and more so to win. Certainly, Town was in play. It is a division that we went into the elections having won in February, and therefore we would have intended, and certainly we went at it to secure victory. Yes? Now, in Morant Bay, we know that that is a division that traditionally supports the PNP and votes in droves for the PNP. And the outturn this evening would demonstrate and signal that certain strides have been made in that space. But as I said before, there's no second place in politics, so we're not going to fixate on that. But let's be very clear. I am in no way telegraphing to your listeners that we did not go into these elections to win. We gave it our best shot. Our candidates we recognize. When you think, for example, of Rosemary Shaw, no stranger to Eastern Jamaica. When you think of her relative to Mr. Downey, she has more of a name recognition. She has more of a presence in the space. Our candidate is of relatively recent vintage. And so those are some of the dynamics at play. And I want to just make it very clear, gentlemen, that all politics is local. So yes, we are the party in government, in central government. We are the party which boasts ministers of government and a big wigs, as it were, in terms of persons who would essentially have the apparatus of state behind them. But as I said before, all politics is local. When you juxtapose the two contestants in Town, you find that someone who had served prior.
So you're saying this is a consequence of your candidates not being well known enough?
It's a number of factors.
It sounds like you're saying that's the primary factor.
Well, Ricardo, let's not jump ahead of ourselves.
No. I'm just seeking to clarify. Are you saying that is the primary factor in this?
I'm citing that as one of the takeaways and one of the realities in terms of these contests, because the truth is, it's early days yet. The JLP, obviously from the level of the secretariat, will be delving into these numbers, dissecting them in a sober and instructive way to get a better sense as to, all right, what we could have done differently, where we went wrong, because we're mindful of the fact that not too far from now, there's going to be a big one. And as I said before, the brave may fall but never yield.
There seems to be a problem, though, Marlon, with the party, and Cliff said it earlier. The party is doing well and the government is doing well at the macro level. But as you mentioned, all politics is local. The message seems not to be communicated properly among the grassroots persons within the different constituencies and the division, and you're evidently failing at that. Is that something that you guys have recognized, and what is being done to try and fix that problem?
I wouldn't concur
before you start,
Sanjay,
Marlon. Just before you come in, Marlon. Just to make the point, when we speak of message, Sanjay, let us be very clear about what we're talking about. It's not only articulating, the successes, but also connecting with your base. If you are listening to the ground in Jamaican politics, you have too many JLP constituencies where members of parliament have been disconnected and dissing their people.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
Oftentimes, when you present at your doctor's office or at hospital, for example, with a medical complaint, what they will seek to do is to undertake a diagnosis, and that may involve sending you to do some form of screening, yes, or some form of scan to seek to ascertain what the issue is. When following the JLP's performance in February, where we came out marginally on top in terms of the municipal corporation count relative to the PNP, though we came out behind in relation to the number of municipal divisions that were held, we decided to go about things in an empirical way. And I would have spoken to you earlier today during Confuse Online that the party is at a point now where it has completed its study and its work in terms of surveying its membership and the party supporters as to some of the issues that are at play and what the party ought to be doing differently. So the first thing we've done is that in an objective and empirical way, we have sought to go out and ascertain the data. We are now further from that in terms of being at a point where we have recognized that just the quality of representation and the dynamic to representing people that some of our representatives bring to the politics leaves much to be desired. And the truth is that we're working assiduously in that regard. And the Prime Minister conveyed as much in West Kingston last evening that tough conversations have been had with some of our representatives. They know what the bar is, they know what the deficits are, and we're seeking at this point to put together a protocol of sorts where they are seized as to what precisely they should be doing to effect the requisite turnaround in their respective locales. Because as I said before, all politics is local. The government has been performing tremendously well in terms of stabilizing the economy, providing or creating the environment that job growth can ensue, so much so that unemployment at present is at record lows. So we are performing well on the government side of things. On the political side of the equation, we are essentially, having diagnosed the problem better, we are seeking to do what is required to close the deficits.
Marlon?
Yes, Cliff, I'm with you.
Do you have the time? The window is closing. Do you have the time? The economy just contracted by 3%, 2.8% in the July to September quarter. Are you going to have the fiscal space, yes, to make an impact, yes? Are you going to have the fiscal space to pull off another 1.5 as you did, yeah, some time ago, yeah, with the fiscal numbers going to be tightening? Do you have the time?
Well, they will tell you, Cliff, that a day in politics is a long time. It's one of the questions that occupies my mind as well. Just the sheer time span and the time horizon in all of this, considering when the next general elections are constitutionally due. So it is a question that will always occupy the mind of political strategists and pundits and commentators like yourself. And so it's a live one. The truth, though, is that in terms of whether the government can effect certain turnaround, I want to communicate to your listeners this evening that in terms of the government's program of work, the people of Jamaica can rest assured that in the upcoming 2025-2026 budget, as it has done in the past, the government will be working assiduously and crafting programs that are people-centered and serving to advance the interests of the broad cross-section of the Jamaican people. It may not be 1.5 or moving, in relation to that. But what is for sure is that we will continue to be responsible and continue to give back to the Jamaican people because we recognize that it is one of the catalysts for growth and causing people to do better at the level of the household economy. Because it's always, politics is always a function of how people feel, how they are doing in their pocketbooks and their checkbooks. And we're very mindful of that.
I don't think we've asked you this question. Why weren't the organization, the machine, and the personnel deployed in and town unable to take you over the line tonight?
To come away with a comprehensive and complete assessment as to why the outtake from in and town this evening is as it is. We will, in the days ahead, embark on that. Just in terms of my cursory and preliminary observations, we would have mobilized. We are, a team of persons who, are seasoned, politicians and political strategists. So a considerable degree of human resources would have been mobilized and fanned out across the in and town division in terms of helping to pull out the vote. And we did that. If you consider what we polled in February relative to what was polled this evening, it is appreciably north of that. It represents an increase on that. However, what I'm saying is that not to be discounted or left out of the conversation, or indeed the consideration as to what transpired today, is the fact that when you juxtapose candidates, we have a candidate, Suzette Barton, who was relatively new in terms of her candidature. And importantly, you had a gentleman, Mr. Dawson, who is relatively more known quantity in the space.
But Marlon,
you
it
said
really
that already.
came down. Yeah, I think it was more than the candidacies of Mr. Dawson and Miss Barton today. This was a hand-to-hand fight between Art Golding's PNP and Andrew Holness's Labour Party. The two leaders were there. It wasn't about Miss Barton anymore or Mr. Dawson for that matter. Similarly, in Morant Bay, some of your top political people were there.
But remember, these are features of by-elections, and I'm not unmindful of that.
To bring them over the line, to bring your candidates over the line. Yes.
Cliff, gentlemen, I am not unmindful of the very nature of by-elections. We saw it in Southeast St. Mary. We saw it in Portland Eastern. We have seen it time and again that the entire, kitchen sink is thrown at this thing. The parties typically mobilize their, all their assets, human resources and otherwise, in terms of the contest, as we would have done this time around. We did it essentially in Antown, and we did it in Morant Bay. Yes? Now, what you have to appreciate is that there is a premium that is to be placed on
this youth is never going to be
the degree to which constituents are familiar with a candidate, as we are now seeing in the case of Antown, and as we have seen as well in the case of Rosemary Shaw, notwithstanding
not in these two instances at all. Yes? The whole country, including your supporters, non-supporters, PNP supporters, non-PNP supporters, knew, what politically was at stake. And that is why the leaders were there, your top people were there, you pulled out all the stops, and you just didn't make it. And you know why? The environment.
One I've heard you
anti-government, and that is what you have to deal with at the macro level to get the country to feel again. Yeah, as they did some years ago, that Holness and the GLP, are the better team. Yes, the better people with the better policies. If you're not able to turn around that environment, then it's going to be pushing rock up a mountain.
Cliff, it would be remiss of me and it would be asinine of the JLP to not, subscribe to the comments you made just now in terms of just the importance and urgency of the task of, messaging, causing the Jamaican to be brought into, our confidence, and importantly, impacting their lives in ways that would cause them to find political favor with the JLP and express that in terms of their voting behavior. Yeah. Now, the truth is that you can, at a point such as this, when the election turned out go in your favor, you can perhaps despair or view the situation as a crisis situation, or you can do what myself and my colleagues are minded to do at a juncture such as this, which is to seize the opportunity in the moment. And we have been well placed, even prior to this round of elections, we have been well placed in that regard, in that we literally went out post-February 2024 and sought to hit the pavement and do it in a robust and methodical way to interface and check in with our people to ascertain, all right, what would you like to see done differently? And they told us in non-certain terms to focus attention on the quality of the representation to ensure that our people are more dignified and respectful in their representation and interface with them. Persons who would want to hide away from the constituents and don't go into the place and check in with the people and drive past them at the bar and at the corner shops with the window up wound up. These are some of the things that emerged from the survey instrument. Mm-hmm. And so, to begin your whole, remedying and closing of the deficit, you have to start with the data set. And we have done that. And I believe, as the Prime Minister has articulated several times over when he's on the political stumping over recent weeks, we are well down the wicket where that is concerned. And the question is still left hanging as to whether it will be enough in terms of just the sheer time horizon. But we are not despairing. We are forging ahead. We are essentially tweaking certain aspects of our strategy. We are moving, as the Prime Minister articulated on Tuesday, in a more focused way now toward ushering in the level and setting the stage for the ushering in of the robust levels of economic growth that will generate revenues to help deliver more goods and services and government programs to the people of Jamaica. Because ultimately, all of this comes down to water systems. It comes down to road network. It comes down to programs that helps the indigent. It helps the elders.
And it comes down also to greater coordination between government and party to deliver the people on the ground. I keep on pointing to history. March 2001, the PNP was shocked. Why? Shahini Robinson, political neophyte, Fiaga plucked from St. Anne's to contest the by-election, triggered by the resignation of Danny Melville. The PNP and Patterson, knew they were in a contest. They threw everything at it. Fiaga and the Labour Party and Shahini won. That by-election was decisive. It marks the beginning of the return of the Labour Party after the defeat of February 1989. How did the Prime Minister and PNP leader at the time respond? You know what he did? He decisively called the leadership of his party and said to two of his best political organizers, two senior cabinet ministers, Maxine Henry Wilson and the now late Dr. Paul Robertson, took them out of the cabinet and said, you are going to go to 89 Old Hope Road, and your job, 24/7, 365 days for the next one, however long, yes, to ensure that we do not lose the next general election. By 2002, the PNP was in a shape that it prevailed in the elections of 2002. Narrowly, if my memory serves me correctly, their majority came down to about 8 seats. Who in the Labour Party, which of their top senior political organizers is prepared to give up ministerial office and the trappings that go with it, the status quo that goes with it, to go plant themselves at Belmont Road and work every day to coordinate, what is available through government, that we have a problem getting to the people so that their pain points are reduced and the misery index is reduced. I leave you with that.
Marlon Morgan, thank you so very much. We're going to go to the opposition leader, Mark Golding, who addressed jubilant supporters in Ainantown. Thank you so much, Marlon. I appreciate your time as always. Yes, man.
A word to the wise is sufficient. Thank you so much.
All right. Mark Golding in Ainantown.
To bear in this campaign on those two divisions. And we worked hard and we did what we had to do organizationally. And the other side did what they do, which is a bit different to us. They have resources, etc., that they brought to bear. But I was very happy that at the end of the day, the people decided to go with us. And I think it's a good day for democracy in Jamaica because it shows that clean politics can still win in this country.
What you have to say to Andrew Holness tonight on his conference? He has his 8-1 conference set for Sunday.
The people of Jamaica want change. They want a different course to move forward with different leadership. We have a leader who is compromised. His Integrity Commission declarations can't be certified. There are 8 persons, of which he is one, who are under investigation for illicit enrichment. The country cannot be run by a government with that cloud hanging over it. Time come for change, and we want elections now.
So the polls are showing that the PNP is way ahead in terms of popular support. Is this really a reflection of the pulse of the Jamaican electorate in your estimation?
What this win reflects is that with the benefit of the popular support that we have nationally and the strength of our organization on the ground as a united political movement under my leadership, we are unstoppable.
The opposition leader and PNP president there, Mark Golding, speaking with journalists in Annan Town, and Cliff Sanjay, clearly he is confident, self-assured. You heard him. We want elections now, saying that Andrew Holness cannot continue as prime minister for all the reasons he listed there. He says, essentially, call it now.
Yes, and that was predictable, yeah, because the political dynamics in the country are such that if you are the opposition, yes, you have the advantage now. You're going to press, and it's going to get increasingly difficult for the government, yes, to pull off the program that the prime minister wants, yeah, with the opposition breathing down your neck. Yeah? And you can take that pressure for so long and no more. Yeah? It's going to get increasingly difficult from here. Yeah? If there is no discernible turnaround in the popularity of the government.
Yeah. All right. Cliff Hughes, we'll continue to watch these developments. Thank you so much.
Oh, I share with the listeners what you told me this afternoon before I left the office. Goodbye.
I heard that you were clamoring to come on, so I granted you your request. Please. I heard you were just at Dana. So I said, very well, allow him.
No.
So you had your moment in the sun.
No. Not at all.
See you on Monday, Cliff Hughes.
Okay, sir.
All the best.
Yeah. Sanjay, final thoughts before we close out what has been a momentous day for politics.
Yeah, you said something earlier that is very instructive, and I've been thinking about it. Can the JLP claw back?
Well, there you have it, my
given
people.
The short time that
my
and
predictions
no
this
question about
morning,
all of us
or
politics, no.
whatsoever you would call it, wasn't too off. I did say I think the People's National Party would take the 2 local government seats, and the Jamaica Labour Party will retain rather the 2 central government seats until general election, particularly Marissa Dalrymple Filbert's seat, is thrown up in the air with stiff competition. But one thing that Cliff and all of them isn't getting, Andrew's best chance, not of winning, of remaining a viable opposition after the next general election, is now. The longer the Prime Minister takes to call a general election, is the weaker his party gets, the lower his electability gets, the more the nation becomes disgruntled, the farther the nation is away from feeling the tangibility of the Prime Minister's pivot. Call the election now, Andrew. It is now your best chance. The longer you stay, the harder the battering will be. At this stage, there is no chance of Andrew Holness' credibility being revived to tackle a general election. When it gets to such a point where a prime minister is unfavorable across the nation, him or her is a sitting duck. Every little woes that come along gets the prime minister even weaker. The prime minister councillors are coming out very, very disgruntled. And if your base is disgruntled, because when you're going up for a general election, you need all your councillors, or as much possible of your councillors, taking in their division, and taking in their division with a good majority. The way it is going for Andrew Holness across the country, they're losing it more and more across the constituencies and the division. Workers across the country are becoming more and more disgruntled. The nation is becoming more and more disgruntled about the state of the road, cost of living, inflation, gas price, and such alike, and such a forth, Prime Minister. Under no circumstances, a Prime Minister, a sitting duck Prime Minister, can come back from this, especially when the roof of the party is caving in. You have two now councillors coming out against the leader and the party. It doesn't signal well, not even for conference on Sunday. It doesn't signal well because the division that the PNP once had, Labour get bad mind and pick it up. Here war and disgruntled behavior in a Labour. Let's remind them of their two councillors. These are not People's National Party councillors coming out disgruntled. These are JLP councillors.
No blockers and caretakers of the Jamaica Labour Party. I am Kimber Lawrence, the sitting chairperson for the Brownstone Division in Northwest Centre, a seat that has never been won by the Jamaica Labour Party since 1982. It took 36 years for me to single-handedly and barefooted win this seat. I have never had a walk with a party official here. I have never had a meeting with one here for my election, I should say. No, let me not say that. I've never had a walk with an official here. Right? Kim do it. Broke and everything. And she did it. Right? It so happened that 5 years ago, Ruel Reid was sent here as the caretaker, a seat that I applied for. But as they said, I'm not qualified. No problem. They sent someone, I worked with him. It so happened, that was the second letter written by the board. Yeah, one written after that. Anyway, let's leave that. Not qualified, no problem. I'll work with where I am placed. I'll grow where I am placed, right? 5 years ago, the court started from 2019. Every Wednesday, the council line up and we find ourselves a station, signing in a police book over something she don't know about. Reached out to the party.
with a discussion in there yesterday because I just happened to come home last night and going through the group and see them, and I start put them in the group where the chairman for Era Council 1, Winston Ennis, have to be telling the people them in the groups, regardless of what, you know, have to vote JLP, because PNP can't do no better. I have no problem. Personally, me, Rosie, have no problem with the party or the government. I have problems with individuals who enter the Jamaica Labour Party and feel that them can get up and talk to people anyhow and do anything, and you as a little councillor girl, you must accept what they say and do. I refuse to accept and do what people want me to accept. And nobody carry me in a Labour Party. My father grew me up in a Labour Party. And I can tell anybody, I will leave Labour Party when I want to leave it. Nobody can make me leave Labour Party.
No, you tell me, with this coming from senior members within the Labour Party, how on earth a Prime Minister going in this direction will ever be recovered, given that we know whatever the Prime Minister is telling about the economy is a lie. The Prime Minister have allotted many different money for many different programs which we may never see. We are still waiting for 7 more investigations from the Integrity Commission with regards to illicit enrichment. How then does the Prime Minister, with this state, in this current state, expect to regain popularity in any way, shape, or form? I mean, another member in the Jamaica Labour Party, if there is one, might do better than Andrew. But certainly, at this point, Andrew is a sitting duck, a very visible sitting duck, one that anyone can take a shot at. Anyone from the People's National Party, even in Andrew Holness's own party, anyone can take a shot at this well-visible sitting duck. If the Jamaica Labour Party wants to continue to fool themselves, they can continue to do so. But it's martyrdom going forward. It is literally martyrdom going forward. The disgruntled behavior that we heard, sorry, coming from Rosalie Hamilton is only going to get worse, providing someone has the courage and bravery to beat their chests and respond to Rosalie Hamilton. What a boogie-aga, freke, falling down, board broke out in a hog pen, hog run out a pen and just screaming all about, my God, we are waiting for the rest of it. It just will not stop here. This was your by-election result for November 2022. Once again, the People's National Party has retained and taken the 2 local government seats. The Jamaica Labour Party has held on to the 2 central government seats, albeit for now. So thank you all very much for being here tonight. If nothing pops out in the Wahala of the Jamaica Labour Party, we will be taking our weekend break. Probably trying out over Clapper as well, because I got a bit of audience over there. They're not quite mobilized yet, but within hours of creating my broadcasting brand over and Clapper, I have about 60 or 50 odd followers. So that's good improvement in one day. So we will be broadcasting on that platform on a regular basis. Also, just like TikTok, it's quite a similar platform to TikTok, not with all the choppings of TikTok though. So thank you all very much, and good night from the Global Television Group, and have yourself a wonderful weekend. Good night, and thank you.
I truly believe our political system needs some fixing. Too much you hear about corrupt politicians and nothing happen. Too much you hear about politicians who take away poor people money and none of them reach in jail. And to the young people at home or wherever you are, and to all Jamaicans, I have one question for you. Take a look at your communities. Take a look at the sliding dollar. Take a look at the failing healthcare and ask yourselves, where is the progress? Where is the progress that this arrogant and disrespectful government keeps talking about? With this existing callous government, matters have gone from bad to worse.